Hi there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lyndon Hosking, and great to have you along for episode number 47 of the Deep Dive Show. And it's always great catching up with everyone each week and going over all their latest news from around Australia and the world, and giving our opinions. And who better to give our opinions than these two gentlemen? I'm referring to Grant Tazzy Brown and Nick Noonan. How are we, guys? Or Noonan Boy Noonan, I should say.
Yeah, baby, I'm good, Lyndon, mate. I'm rested, I'm refreshed, and I'm just, I can think Peter's going to come back soon. I've got a feeling we're going to have Peter back soon. So I'm waiting. I'm resting. I'm reading World of Boxing. I'm going back to the archive. I'm going back to the Fist magazine. I'm going back to the Boxer Monthly in the ring, and I'm waiting. I'm just here waiting for you, Peter. Come and get some, baby. Come and get some.
And Tazzy, before I get to Nick there, you've had a big week as well. Tell us about it. You were down in your native land in Tasmania. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, happy official press conference to announce Return to Glory November 12th at the Hobart City Hall. Massive stacked card. So I went down another press conference then. The tickets are on sale as of now. Bo Belbin's the main event, fighting 8 rounds against Jaden Riddle, who's a tough Victorian. Gave Jay Somalia a tough fight. That's for the AMVF Australasian Super Water and the Tasmanian Super Water. 2 belts for Bo. He's 6-0. Hopefully he goes 7-0. Then we've got big Alex Simon, who's a huge heavyweight. He's the strongest man in Australia in powerlifting. He's a cage fighter. He's had one pro boxer on No Limit show, which didn't end good. But look, he's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine, and we've got a mutual best mate as well. Anyway, look, he's going to come. Everyone loves heavyweights. So I'm looking forward to having him on the show in a 4-rounder. A long-awaited grudge match between Stu Dare and Johnny Brown. That's been brewing for years. Stu Dare is a cage fighter, big rep. Johnny Brown is obviously a pro boxer with a big rep. Both not just for fighting with gloves on either, but they're both good boys, and they're gonna put their what do I say, differences. No, they haven't really had any words with each other. Everyone's talking about them though. Everyone's saying who's going to win. So it's a promoter's dream. Smoking Joe Corner, who Lyndon you've had on your show a couple of times, well, actually more than once. 3 or 4, yeah. He's back. He's back against a tough Islander from Queensland, and Bo the Good Woods, a Tassie boy based in Queensland, trains with Tapu Apatire. Tapui, Jai Apatire's dad. He's going to go 2-0, I reckon, this week in Queensland, and then he'll be ready for the fight on my show. So 5 pro fights, 10 amateur fights by Boxing Australia. Mate, Tazzy Brown Promotions, we're just doing it again. It's my 18th promotion. I'm blessed to be able to do this for my home state, because it doesn't matter where I live in the world, I'm a Tasmanian. Yeah. I'm a proud Tasmanian, and I breathe Tasmania, hence why I'm called Grant Tazzy Brown.
And Nick, mate, it's always hard to keep up with you because you're all over the place at the moment. Where are you and what's going on? I know there's a couple of big shows coming up. What's been your movements in the last week or so?
Mate, I just love the intro to Boxing Deep Dive when I see Joe Goosen and Diego Corrales there. Diego Corrales, as Tazzy knows, is one of my favourite fighters, and I just want to chirp in on a story for our viewers. When I was with Joe Goosen and Ryan Garcia just recently, back in July, when Garcia took out Fortuna, he said in the press conference, Ryan Garcia is probably the best fighter I've ever trained. And I pulled Joe aside after it, Tazzy, and I said, Joe, can I just have a word with you about a couple? Yeah, no worries, Nick. And I said, mate, do you think this kid's better than Diego? And he goes, oh, well, you just said it in the press conference, you know what I mean? Like, so I had to chip him on that, you know what I mean? I'm just looking back then before the intro and just realising how great Diego Corrales is. I know we're historians, all three of us, but I think sometimes these coaches now like Goosen and that, and I think people forget how good our greats were in the 80s and the 90s. And I don't know about you, Tazzy, but Corrales was obviously his demise was obviously his untimely death, and obviously when he fought Floyd there. But how good was Diego Corrales at that 130-25 around that?
He was amazing, mate. He was a big 130, 35, and look, until Floyd beat him, mate, he was killing everyone, and mate, he beat Robert Garcia, who's now a great trainer, but he beat Robert Garcia as well, and Rob was a good fighter. Mate, he was a beast, mate. He had, Castillo fights, and he fought everyone, mate. I think, just a legend and gone too soon.
And getting back to that, Tazzy, look at this, Lyndon, we've gone straight into his story, but if I showed people today, Tazzy, Corrales versus Castillo, do you reckon they'd say, oh, you've got to throw the towel in? And what a war that was. You know what I mean? What an incredible fight. There were certain rounds in that fight where you could probably go, oh, Diego, you've had enough. And then you're like, holy shit, Castillo, you've had enough. And then you go, in one round, you could switch either way for about 3 minutes.
Well, it was a bit like Gaddy Ward, mate. You know what I mean? Look, if you know your fight, that's why I say you should know your fighter. That's why it's better if you're with your fighter for a while rather than all these lately fighters going from trainer to trainer, changing. And you know that, Linda, like it happens in Australia.
Yeah.
They change trainers. You need to know your fighter. You need to build a relationship. You need to know how much they can endure so that doesn't happen, because you might throw the towel in too early. At the end of the day, you're there for the safety. But if you know your fighter, you know he can weather the storm like a Jeff Hardy and Johnny Lewis, you know he can get through this and he's still a puncher's chance. If you're not a puncher's chance, fair enough. If you're not known as a puncher, mate, pretty much, you know he's not going to do anything better or hurt. But if they've got a puncher's chance, if you know your fighter and you know how much, mate, you've got to be able to give him a bit of a chance. Because at the end of the day, how many times we've had last round knockouts, guys? AKA Chavez Taylor.
Yeah.
Yep. Andries Harding, plenty of fights out there, isn't there? So that's just on our front. But as always, guys, so much to get through the Aussie news and world news. We'll go through them point by point. Unlike the first show a couple of weeks ago, Neil, I think it was all just Kambosos and Haney and what was the other one? Oh, Joshua and Usyk. I think that's all we covered tonight. We've got a lot to get through. So we'll start with the Aussie news, guys. And as always, so much happening. Nick, you're always across it, mate. And Tazzy, you're always in the midst of it as well. Let's start with...
Well, Tazzy's across it. Don't worry about that. We had a good channel. Tazzy's across it.
Yeah, let's just start with the first bit of news. Paro Jarvis. Now, we talked about it, I think, last week. The card has been officially finalised. Of course, the main event, Liam Paro, Brock Jarvis over 12 rounds. You've also got Sky Nicholson, Mousy Jacobs. We'll get to you in a second about that, Tazzy. Dempsey, McKeon, and who was it? Corte. What was his name? I've got it written here.
Patrick Corte. Patrick Corte.
Patrick Corte, yep. And I like this one too. Mateo Tapia and Abdullah Mayweather should be a ripper. So great card to launch things. Nick, I'll give you I'll let you go first, and I want Tazzy to comment about the girls' fight. So you're all across this. You spent a lot of time with Liam Paro. What's the inside goss as we are about 5 weeks away?
Look, it's one that was delayed a lot due to certain things that made it hard for them to get a venue, but now they've got a venue. The date...
Great venue too.
Yeah, great venue, and it'll be a packed house. The date went out officially really 4 or 5 weeks ago, but Matchroom officially launched it last week. Mate, it's a blockbuster card. It's a strong card. This is Matchroom and DAZN hitting the ground running here in Australia. They've picked a different time to launch it, the night before Kambosos versus Haney. If you're a boxing reporter, analyst, or correspondent, or digital media guru,
it's a nightmare.
You're going to have your work cut out in October. The air miles are going to go up on my Qantas and Learjets because we've got a lot going on. But yeah, Sky Nicholson will be fighting, coming home to Australia and showcasing her skills since she's gone overseas. Shout out to Sky, which will be fantastic. Dempsey McKean making his return back. And I think Mateo Tapia versus Abdul Mayweather, who fought on the weekend, will be a good fight. But no, I'm looking forward to it. Liam Paro versus Brock Jarvis, 140-pound domestic clash. Jeff Fennick and Brock Jarvis up against Paro and the DiCarlo group. So it's going to be a good fight. Shout out to DAZN for putting it on. It is going to be on DAZN, guys, not on Fox Sports. And it all goes down October the 15th.
Should be good. And Tazzy, you've obviously got a little bit of an interest in this. Of course, you've promoted Mousy Jacobs for, I think, I've promoted a couple of you've promoted the rest. So, obviously, a Tazzy girl. So, that's it's a pretty tough one for her, but it's good to see she's taken the risk and she's going to step up.
Yeah, look, Mousy fights everyone. I mean, I promoted the WIBA world title win, which was a great a great result over Lorinda Webb. Unfortunately, she, Beck Hawker, who's a machine, just won a world title herself. She went down to her, but she asked for that fight with Beck Hawker. So again, she fights everyone. And now, we got a win the other few months ago down in Tazzy again. And now, but now she's got, Sky Nicholson. So it's great that she's got the chance to fight on this platform, fighting on Eddie Hearn Matchroom show, DAZN, against Sky Nicholson, who's the golden girl of Australian boxing, who's, an Olympian, a gold medalist to Commonwealth Games. She's fought in Madison Square Garden in Vegas. She's already done more than most have dreamt of already. So she's with Matchroom and she'll be a world champion one day. But Mouse is going to try and upset her, mate. I fully support Mouse and I just messaged you, Ruiz, you're not going to believe it, 2 minutes ago, to say if I can help with sparring, I will. Because, but look, it's a great opportunity for her. So it's great for Tasmanian boxing and I support her a million %, and I really hope she can bring it home. And I love, Sky and her family, but obviously I'm going with the Tasmanian. So let's go Mousey.
Yeah, no, it should be a good one. And Nick, I know McKean and Corte will be a good fight as well, but the Tapia-Mayweather fight's fascinating, isn't it? Mayweather, of course, had a win on the weekend. Tapia managed again by our man, Mike Altamura. He looks the goods, doesn't he? And that should be a ripping fight as well.
Cracking fight, that one, at the super middleweight division. I got big raps on Mateo Tapia. I think the world of him, actually. I'm really keen to catch up with Mikey Altamura and have a talk about the future for him and what we can do digitally to really get him out even more, because he's one of the ones in Australia right now I think is right up there. I think he likes to fly under the radar. I don't think the media, the mainstream, have really got onto him yet. But, mate, Boxing Central, Noonan Boy Promotions, and hopefully one day on Fight Hype, we're right behind him. I love his style, like the way he talks. Abdul Mayweather's another one as well. Shout out to Abdul Mayweather. He fought on the weekend. He got the decision over the weekend. It was a technical knockout. The guy didn't come back out against Al Rich. He looked pretty good early. Then I thought that he sort of got down in the fight and sort of played into Al Rich. Was he trying to get the rounds out? This will be an absolute zapping, cracking fight really, really early, I think. And don't be surprised if there's an early stoppage.
Yeah, no, looking forward to that one. And it's an interesting one, Tazzy. We've talked about it in the past. Do you think, because this is obviously it's on DAZN, but I'm assuming it's going to be a pay-per-view at least in Australia. So, do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea to have these fights? I know Nick's got his work cut out as far as the miles goes, but what do you think about having this the night before such a massive event in Cambosa's Haney? Will it help it or will it hinder it?
I don't think it really matters. Look, they needed a venue, so I don't think they were too. I don't think they could be too picky because they had trouble with dates of venues.
That's another thing. Yeah.
This show should have been in September, so I don't think they can be too picky.
Yep.
It's in Queensland. Look, one's in Melbourne, one's in Queensland. I don't think it affects it. I think they'll both do their own shows. I don't think it really affects it that much. I mean, the Queensland crowd are going to get behind it. The Melbourne crowd's going to get behind this. I mean, like Noon said, the media's going to be up and down. But look, I don't think it really affects it. But the only thing I'm going to say, obviously, being with DAZN, they can't help that. Fox Sports aren't really going to give this much of a plug, obviously, are they? So it's not going to really get out there in Australia, because if Fox Sports aren't going to plug it, how are they going to do it? Are they going to just rely on the local media guys, are they? I mean, you know what I mean? If Fox Sports, they promote everything. So, obviously that's going to probably hinder it a bit. But, mate, it's a great show in Queensland, and I hope, my friend Angela Carlo is involved, so I hope that it goes really well. I met Eddie, which was a pleasure to meet him, and obviously I'm a big, Jeff Bennett, my old coach and dear friend, and Brock Jarvis, they're good friends of mine, so I hope that it's a successful show. No, I don't think it hinders it, Lyndon. I don't think so. I think just two different states. I don't think it's, but yeah, I don't think it really will matter.
It's a great point that Tazzy made then, Nick, as far as the advertising goes, because when the zone's obviously for purely boxing fans, at least in this country anyway, so the only ones that are going to be seeing, well, I don't know, I've never really been on the app unless I'm actually watching a fight, so you're not going to get some advertisements in there, whereas if it's on Fox, in these big lead-ups to it at the moment, all you're seeing is this Paul Gallen pay-per-view, and all these other ones, and Cambosis will start soon as well, so You see that on the movie channels, on the football channel. So it's a massive advantage to have, isn't it? And we're not going to get that this time.
That's where I like. Look, you got to respect DAZN because DAZN is for the boxing hardcore fans. So therefore, we need to share the DAZN app, support it, get behind it, because we can all think, oh, well, some people might not be interested in Paro and Jarvis, but they might be interested in the next fighters that fight on DAZN. So I think it's really, really crucial that we get behind DAZN, support it. We support Fox Sports as well, but the way I look at mainstream media is they dabble in boxing when they want to dabble into it. These guys like myself, yourself, Tazzy, we live, eat and breathe covering boxing and being involved in it, and DAZN do that. You know what I mean? They charge $13.99 a month. Obviously, they're going to charge a bit more for Canelo Triple G, and we'll get to that later. But for this one, for the subscribers, get behind it. I know I've got a meeting in a couple of days with DAZN around some ideas that we've got. And look, at the end of the day, I think in the future, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but the way we're going with TikTok, social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube right now, whatever, we're creating our own channels. It doesn't matter if it's the Lyndon Hoskin channel, Tazzy Brown with his show, Noonan Boy. We're creating our own channels. When we come together with that digital component, we drag everyone into that. If we create a stream, which is DAZN, we're putting a lot of eyes on boxing through that way at a lot cheaper. So there is life outside of Fox Sports. Does Fox Sports have the bigger reach when they go to market? Yeah, they do. But this will be a good show.
Just quickly before we move on, is this going to be a pay-per-view on DAZN, or will it be part of the normal?
No.
No,
this will be a normal. Wow. This will be a normal. This one should be a normal one on DAZN, $13.99. Unless it could change, but I wouldn't think that Eddie Hearn and his team would go to market on we're going to come to Australia and charge you $30 the day before Cambosa and Haney's $6. Give up. So I can't see him doing that. And if he does do that and he does change it, well, to be fair, and Liam and Brock and Jeff and Alfie DiCarlo know that, they're going up against Cambosis the next day, but different markets.
Well, if anything, that's going to be an absolute bonanza for the people out there if they've got DAZN, and most boxing fans have the DAZN app. So, yeah, that's great news if it's right. Right, let's move on to last weekend. We've got a new women's world champion, or a version of it. Beck Hawker, she won the WIBA featherweight title with a 10-round decision over Holly Tao. Is that how you pronounce it? Tao?
Holly Tao, yep.
Now, Nick, it did say she was making a pro debut. That's not the case, is it? I think I did a bit of digging around. I think she had about 8 or 9 fights. Is that true?
She's had a lot more amateur fights and a lot more professional fights than Beck Hawker, and she's probably had fought tougher opponents. That's where you got to give the respect to Beck Hawker. I don't know what happened there with BoxRec and certain people there, but Holly.
Of course, that's the first thing people go to is they check BoxRec.
Yeah, BoxRec can get it wrong sometimes, though, and they can have different profiles where people have created different BoxRec accounts. So you got to make sure you're following the right one. But no, Holly Tao was 8-0. Up against Beck Hawker, who was 5-0, and Holly Tao proved a lot tougher than we thought, and at times boxed pretty well. But Beck Hawker really came out flying. She was really good in the first couple of rounds, got ahead, stayed ahead. A couple of times sort of fed back into Holly Tao's game plan, but then with the home crowd behind her, sort of going over the top to take that belt out, which was fantastic.
She won 100-91 on 2 cards, and what was the other one there? 99. I've got it there. 99-91. Sorry, 190 on the 2 cards, and 99 on the other card. So. Yeah. Tazzy, so it's going to be a real good springboard for her, isn't it? I mean, it's a version of the title. Okay, it's not a WBA, WBC, IBF, or WBO, but still, it's a version that gets some good ratings and maybe some bigger fights down the track. Yeah,
but it's the original one, Lyndon. Before, it was the first belt, the WIBA. Was the first legit women's world title belt. All these other ones only come in when they thought, there's money in women's boxing now. That's the only reason IBF, WBC, WBA, blah, blah, blah. This was the original. Layla Ali held it, and Wolf held it. This was the number 1. And I got this title from Mousy Jacobs. So this is the first one. This transcended women's boxing. As I said, it's okay for the other ones to jump on now because there's sanction fees.
He's exactly right.
It's a good belt. This girl can fight. She's a gun, mate. She wins a belt every time she fights. She's one of the best she'll win those other belts too. That she's the real deal. This girl, she's a tough, very good fighter.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, Lyndon. The other day when we were covering it, obviously the Thursday, and then we did the Friday weigh-in and press conferences. Beck Hawker's got it here. She's very strong between here. I don't know if it's with the work that she does outside of boxing, working in enforcement, but she's very, very strong mentally. And I picked up that the other day at the weigh-in. She's very professional. She speaks extremely well. She speaks so well. She's an attribute to our country, and along with Shanika Johnson, Shannon O'Connell. You know what I mean? I know we've got Ebony Bridges, and there's lots of other women out
Susie
there.
Ramadan too, guys. Susie Ramadan.
Yep.
Yeah, Susie Ramadan, Taylor Robertson, and Beck Hawker.
She's my teammate now, my gym mate.
That's right. Shout out to Yarraville Gym, Tazzy. But there's about 6 or 7 of them right now. And Beck Hawker is a real attribute for our country in boxing.
Yeah, well, I know you you spoke then about the way she talked and or spoke, and I must admit my wife even commented that how well spoken she was. She probably didn't expect it from someone who had just gone to war for 10 rounds like she did, but was really impressed by the way she carried herself after the fight and the way she spoke, and that's a credit to her and her team. So all the best to Beck Hawker going forward.
Well done, Frankie Pianto, her trainer too.
All right, Harry Garside is out of the No Limit pay-per-view. He injured his hand. The fight with Miles Zaluski is off. Nick, have you got any updates for us there? Is there a replacement? I know there's been a few put their hands up. Have we got another opponent?
Have not got another opponent as of tonight, and we sit here on Thursday night, so I'm not sure how Matt Rose and the team are going to deal with that one. Shout out to Harry Garside and Miles Zaluski, how they handled it. I thought was absolutely fantastic. That just shows the detriment of Harry Garside as a human and Miles. Harry was very disappointed that he couldn't get in this. Look, I don't think this is a good thing either, Tazzy, and I'm going to bring it back to you and Lyndon. This guy's got problems with his hands. He's how many fights in? He's 2-0, is that right?
3-0, I think.
3-0, and he's got problems with the hands already. I know he's had a decorated amateur career. I'm going to hopefully reach out to Harry and speak to him about a couple of other things that we could maybe support him with. But I don't know. I'm going to throw it back to you, Tazzy, there. Like, your thoughts on this, Tazzy, and, having such hand problems so early in his professional career?
It's not ideal, is it? I mean, I really feel for the kid. I mean, he's got a great manager in my friend Peter Matreski Jr. He's got arguably the greatest promotion team in Australia, No Limit. He's a gold medalist at the Commonwealth Games, and he's a bronze medalist at the Olympics, and the kid can box. Johnny Famish. He's a throwback to the pure boxing style. And you think you want to get a roll on, and they've tried to because they've got the dates to put him on, but another hand injury, and I really feel for the guy. It is very alarming this early on. And I hope that it's something that they can sort of that doesn't stop his momentum because, as we know, like an active fighter is a good fighter, a happy fighter. Inactivity kills fighters. So, it's just sad, and I really hope that this problem doesn't give him problems his whole career. But yeah, it's obviously frustrating for him and his team, and it's obviously not a great start, is it? I mean, it's very alarming for him.
Especially because he's not known as a big puncher anyway. So, let's hope he gets it right because he only just started his career, as I said, 3-0, so got a big career in front of him. But let's hope he gets that right. The rest of the card, Nick, is still going ahead, of course. So I've obviously got Paul Gallen with the 2 fights against Ben Hannett and Justin Hodges. The other sort of bigger fights in the card, Benjamin Hussein, Lockie Higgins, Joseph Goodall, Fozzo. This guy, Jack Bowen, got all the goods for what it looks like at the moment, is up against Rendell Quinlan, which will be a tough one as well. And Ty Telford, not quite sure a lot about his opponents, fighting a guy named Vanlawa Mopwawa. I think that's the way you announce it. He's 4-0, so it'd be a tough fight, but it should be a ripping card anyway.
Mate, it's a good card. Gal's pumped up. He had a bit to say in the media yesterday to us down there at Cronulla Beach. Look, obviously this is a drag in from the media. Gallen puts the eyes on the sport. But I'm pumped for the fights on the undercard. I'm very, very keen to see how Joseph Goodall hits back after his defeat to Justice Honey against Arsene Fozzo. We turn to Ty Telford, who I've got massive raps on. Ty Telford, I think he's one of the most heavy-handed fighters in the country, and he's just improving all the time. What he did up here last year, Tazzy, as you saw, this year on the Gold Coast, up against Tyson Best was damaging, was what the word I would use would be damaging. And then obviously when you look at the other ones on the card, Jack Bowen, a very exciting up-and-coming fighter. I said this to Jack the other day. Shout out to Reynold Quinlan. I've got a lot of respect for Reynold Quinlan too. I've got a feeling Quinlan's going to come that night. I've just got this real feeling that he's going to rock up. I know he is in the latter stage of his career, but I think that's going to be a real cracking fight. I think we're going to see some really good close fights on this card. I think Jack should win that fight in that undercard, but I think the rest of the undercard will be good, including Arsene Fozzo. I think Arsene Fozzo will be there for Joe Goodall. I think Goodall's got a good chance to come back and show what a boxer he can be against Arsene Fozzo. And then obviously you got the other fights there with Ty Telford and a couple of the other ones on the undercard. So it should be a good night of boxing.
Yeah, no, it should be. Tazzy, you're comfortable there, mate? You're all good?
Gee, Taz, you're right there. Or?
My little Teddy. Look at this one. Little cutie.
Yeah, no, that should be a ripper.
No, look, it should be good, mate. No Limit do great shows. Big Gal's been a pioneer for promoting Australian boxing in years now. He's a great guy. Jack Bowen, mate, this is his toughest test. When Quinlan, like you said, Noonan, mate, he comes like, you never know when you're going to get him. Like he was on against Damien Hooper. Dropped Hooper twice and almost won that fight. He was, he's been on a few times. He got a win down in Melbourne against Lucas Miller, I think it was. And mate, the guy fights everyone, but mate, he sort of. I wish Rem would have been this active at the peak of his career. He went missing for a while. Like now he's so active, he fights everyone. But back in the day when he was at his best, he was a bit quiet. So, but I love Ren. He's a mate of mine. But Jack Bowen's obviously under my man Mike Altamura, so I'm sure it's a great fight, and good luck to No Limit, and they're doing what they do, mate. They're doing well.
So that's on main event next week, and KO if you've got that. I think it's $59.99 if you want to grab that. So check it out next Wednesday night or Thursday night, is it? Yeah, Thursday night. So get behind that one. Support No Limit and Australian boxing. Another one, Nick, Jack Gibb, Mitchell Whitelaw, I should say, this week. Tasman fighters are back. They're at the Fortitude gym up there with our good mates Steve Della and Luke Melton. That should be a good night as well. We got you there, Nick?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep, go for it, mate. I was just saying, big show at Fortitude this week with Jack Gibb and Mitchell Whitelaw.
Tasman fighters, Gibb versus Whitelaw down there. Shout out to Lukey Melton and Stevie. They're putting on a show down there. Jack Gibb, keen to see this fight, actually. Well, I probably won't be there, but it'll be interesting to see how he hits back. Jack Gibb's a really up-and-coming, promising fighter, and it should be a good show from the Fortitude Boxing Gym. Should be.
And Tazzy, so not quite sure a lot of the guys on the undercard. Our good mate John Min's on there, though. He always pops up on all these shows. He always comes to fight. But good to see. Like I think I said last week, I had a coffee with Luke and Steve at the Australian Boxing Hall of Fame. It just, you need those types of guys in boxing all over the country, and it's great to see they do these regular shows in the gym, and that's what is the lifeblood of boxing in this country, isn't it?
Shout out to Lukey Melton and Steve Della. They're great boxing guys. They give so much to the sport. Steve Della's actually probably trained more Australian champions than anyone. I mean, I don't know what Keith Ellis' record was, but Stevie Della has trained from grassroots probably some of the many Australian champions ever. And obviously Luke, the great guys, they support our show as well. I know Lukey Melton loves it. And, mate, look, they're always doing shows. They've got a big stable of fighters. Jack Gibb's a great fighter. He fought, he had his second pro fight on my show, promoted him last year, I think March, during COVID. Whitelaw was a very good, underrated fighter, and it should be good, mate. But, the Fortitude boys, mate, they're what Australian boxing is all about. They're rule boxing people.
Yeah.
Rule real good dinky die Aussie boxing people.
And Shiva Mishra was supposed to be on that card as well, but I'm not sure what's happened there. Nick, his opponent's pulled out, or he was injured, one or the other. Actually, I don't think he was injured because he was putting his hand up to fight Miles Zalewski, wasn't he? So.
Yeah. And Whitelaw's a tricky one. Whitelaw's been in there with some good fighters, and he'll give it to Gibb. I'm not saying he's going to get over the top of him, but he'll bring it, I should say, better wording there, Mr. Noonan. He'll bring it to Gibb early, and that it'll be a good little show. And like you guys said before, you know what I mean? It's great to see these gyms doing more shows, you know what I mean? You know, hats off to all the promoters that try and do it on the local level. That's how the sport's going to grow. We just can't be just Fox Sports and TV guys. I'm telling you that.
No, exactly. No, let's hope Mitchell does something about that hairdo. But anyway, hopefully it's an old photo. Only joking. I know it's the thing these days with the mullets. Tazzy, I reckon you look good with the mullet. But let's move on.
Tazzy, get a mullet.
What do you reckon? I reckon I could grow one. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon you give it a crack, Noonan. I reckon it'd suit you too, mate. The duo, I reckon you too.
15 years ago.
All right, guys, let's move on to one of our favourite fighters at the moment. Of course, I'm referring to Jai Apatire. He's headed to Samoa for the 60-year of independent celebration, if I can spit that out. And Nick, this is great. And going back to the homeland, they love him over there, and it's just great for the country, isn't it?
Mate, it's absolutely fantastic, and obviously that's where he's from. That's his roots. That's his blood. He's now an Australian Samoan, and obviously we claim him. But it's fantastic to see him go back to his hometown, and what an attribute he is to Samoa, and visit Samoa and everything that they do over there. And they've got the IBF world champion on that little island, mate, and that's what it's all about. I think it was fantastic. I've got to give a shout out to Tasman Fighters and that for, getting that media out and obviously showing us all about what that was all about and experiencing that on their channel. So I think it's awesome, and we should see more of it. And, I presume more Australians that are from different parts of the world that call our great place home and their great place from where they're from, that they share that. And he's obviously going back there and sharing it with the locals there, which is what it's all about. That's where he's from.
Yeah, and I've been to Samoa before. It's a beautiful little country. It's beautiful people, and can't do enough for you. We had one. What's the thing they put in the ground when they cook the big bit of meat in the ground? It's all they put all the stuff on top of it, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
Is it the?
Yeah.
Can't remember what it's called. We did that at the Oceania Games once. It was some of the best meat you've ever eaten, and
they put it in the ground. Is it called a huni?
Huni, it might be. Yeah. So
honey.
Honey.
It's
not a Justice honey. A honey.
Honey.
But Tazzy, what do you think with Jai? I mean, I know Jason Waitley's got the fight in October, November, what it is, with the Polish guy for the mandatory. But there's talk about Jai fighting Robert Whittaker. Is it? I think it's been proven to be false. Is that right?
Tazzy, you go.
Is it false? What do you think of that, Tazzy? First of all,
go Tazzy. Then I'm going to blast it.
I haven't got much to say about it.
You've got nothing, Tazzy, right? I'm just going to cut you off there. Right, sorry, Taz.
Go for it, mate.
You're in the press conference. There's levels to it, right? That's the first thing I'm going to say to it. Two, we're dealing with the UFC sanctioned, where he is not registered to fight. It is a non-irrelevant fight. I spoke to Dean Lonergan about it. I didn't really have a crack at him, but I sort of did. Dean, let's just be careful. I love a bit of hype. I love a bit of in negotiations pump. Please, you and your channels out there. And I'm not knocking before the fight that did it. They broke it and got it out to their very small platforms. But fuck, really, seriously, like it didn't even make sense. And then when you went, no, I'm not knocking it, but when you went through the comments, Tazzy, that I saw, that I was shown from my digital guy, Desi said, there's something wrong with this fight. And I said to Des, yeah, it's what you call irrelevant. It won't happen, and it can't happen at the moment until Robert Whittaker comes out of that sanctioning area of what he is with the UFC. So,
yeah.
And to be fair, getting back to boxing, Jai's just won a world title. Do we want to get him paid? Yeah, okay, there'd be money in the Whittaker fight if he crossed over. I think Jai's a bit better than that. I'd like to see him against McAboo, the WBC champion, or fight the other guy in the WBA and unify. Jai, don't get caught up in all this.
And I don't like the Huni fight against that guy that beat Jai too, because that takes the shine of Jai's win. I mean, fuck, as I said, like, you know, I mean, I don't like that either, mate. You know, so I don't know lately.
Well, I think you're right there, Nick, because one of the comments I did look at the time and I thought makes perfect sense was Beck.
One of the comments, all the comments were like...
all the comments, the main one that I saw that I took notice of straight away because she would obviously know is Beck Rodriguez, I think it is now. She came out straight away and said, there's no way, like you said, the UFC's contract, there's no way that fight's happening, just stop talking about it.
No, and shout out to Rowdy Beck, who's an absolute legend, bare fist warrior.
She is a warrior.
Guys, and Isaac Harbin's another one. We should get him on. Isaac Harbin knows exactly. He's been on a couple of times. Yeah, Isaac Harbin knows right now, if he registers back into the UFC, I think it is, and he can teach us about it, then he could potentially have a crossover fight or whatever it is. But until Rob Whittaker is in that situation, that fight cannot happen. So there's no point even talking about it, reporting about it. I can tell you one thing, Boxing Central, Noonan Boy Fight Hype, no one even fucking grabbed it because it was basically like saying that me and Tazzy are going to run down the street in the nude. It's not happening tonight.
Well, you got to keep the names in the news, I suppose, and Dean's the master of that. So I'm glad you put that to bed, mate. Let's move on to Ace Boxing. Obviously did the show last week. They've just announced another show, Nick, October 7th. This will be a good one. Floyd Masson versus Mauricio Barrera. I remember he was here, about 3 or 4 years ago? He fought Mark Flanagan from memory.
He fought Mark. That's exactly right, Lemon. You're spot on, and he's a tough-ass Barrera. This is not... For guys and gentlemen and women that tune into this fight, don't have a look at it, what it's like on BoxRec. This is a tough-ass, hard-ass fight for Floyd again. This one, don't go off Mauricio's record. I know he's had some losses. I don't know what it is there, Lyndon, if you've got it.
5 losses he's had, yeah.
And for about 9 or 10 wins, I think it is.
I did have it there. I think he's 35 and 5 or something like that, I think he is.
Sorry, 35 and 5. So, yeah, he's a very hard ass, and obviously Floyd coming off the back of that Vickers Singh victory. This will be another hard fight for Floyd. He's been in some tough fights.
Sorry, mate, stop you there. 18 and 5, sorry, 18 and 5. But the losses have been in pretty good fights, mostly overseas.
You gave him a few wins there, Lyndon.
Sorry, mate, sorry.
You had him. Geez, you had him.
He doubled him. He doubled his wins.
But Floyd Masson's only had 12 fights. So these are the fights these guys need to have, obviously, to get the rounds in, isn't it? And the experience.
Look, I think it is. But I'm very keen after this fight to see what Angelo DiCarlo, Glenn Hosking, Stephen Ng, and the guys have got planned for Floyd if he gets through there and victorious, because I just think he's had some really tough fights. You know, I mean, this one's going to be a tough one. The last fight before that with Vickers Singh was a tough one. The one before that against Mark Flanagan was a tough one. That's 3 tough stylistic fights back to back. And then I'm really looking forward to him when he gets in there and probably fight more of a boxer. But yeah, October the 7th, Friday night, the night before Super Saturday, Floyd Masson versus Mauricio Barrera. If you head onto the Ace Boxing Facebook and Instagram page, the full undercard is in. It's another stacked card. Mate, if you're covering boxing at that time of the year, and October the 7th, and then Super Saturday, and then the 15th, the first 2 weeks for a boxing fan is just going to be jam-packed.
Oh, it's a massive month.
I've got a question for you, Nick. I've got a question for Nick.
Yep.
Nick, what's the word? Why haven't I heard this guy's name? What's going on with Jacob NG? I haven't heard his name for a long time.
Jacob NG. What do you mean you haven't heard?
Well, he's been unheard of since
he hasn't been in the media. I don't know what he's doing.
So, what is he fighting this year? Did the Billy Dib fight break his heart? Talk to me.
I don't know, Tazzy. I actually don't know what he's doing. He hasn't even come up in conversation. I spoke to Stephen NG last week. We didn't actually even speak about Jacob. I think he's waiting to get back into training camp. and then probably have a fight. I'm not sure what he's going to do. He's definitely not on this card, Taz, no.
Just curious. I just haven't heard nothing from him.
No, he's been very quiet.
One fight that is on the undercard, Tazzy, that you can comment on that I'm actually looking forward to. Adrian Rodriguez, we just mentioned before, he's Mr. Beck Rawlings, Rowdy Beck, against Victor Nagby. This will be a really good fight as well.
Yeah, Nagby's a good fighter, mate. He's
4-0.
sparring Stevie Spark at the moment. Got a win over Sam Solomon. I don't know much about Rodriguez, but I know Nagby, and I think Nagby will win this one.
He's had 19 fights, Adrian Rodriguez. I think he's a former Australian champion. This is actually for the Australian super welterweight title. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah, so it should be a good one. Look, I've seen Rodriguez fight a few times. He's not a superstar, but he's honest and he always comes to the fight, doesn't he, Nick?
Oh yeah, that'll be a good fight. And Victor Nagby, obviously, who is a crossover fighter. Fought Terry Nicholas down there in Geelong and got over the top of him.
And Sam Solomon, of course.
Sam Solomon. So very keen to see Victor Nagby on that night and see what's next for him.
Yeah, no, it should be good. Victor Nagby, of course, is managed by Tony Tolge, who is one of the best in the business in Australia as well. So,
gee.
Yeah, shout out to Tony as well. I haven't spoken to him for a while, but hope you're well, mate.
What you gonna do when Hokamania runs wild on you?
And I think there's some big news happening with the Maloney boys soon, which I'm sure he'll announce when the time's right as well.
There's some big news happening, Lyndon.
Yeah, so can't wait.
There's some big news happening.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, on the ratings front, just quickly, guys. Nick, we talked about this the other day. Michael Zarafa is now not only the IBF number 2, he's the WBA number 1, and is probably the main shaker and mover in the ratings that have just been released in the last couple of weeks.
Michael Zarafa, number 1 in the WBA, number 2 in the IBF. Big news last week. Shout out to the WBA and Mendoza and the team, and obviously Daryl Peoples and the team at the IBF. They got Zarafa ranked very, very high now. Big things for Zarafa now. It's go hard now, and he's in a situation where he potentially can fight for either one world title or the other title. So him and his team will obviously have to have a look at that through. Obviously, Triple G and Canelo play a part in that at 160 with the with the IBF. Look, it's a tricky one. Falcoa is the potential fight, I think, for the vacant world title. Tazzy, I think you'd have to agree. And then in the WBA, you've got a very, very seasoned class boxer in Erislara Landi. That would be very, very tricky, hard man to beat. Look, they're all hard to beat. We know that. But there is a potential fight there for Zarafa versus Lara. And there's obviously one there for a vacant world title with the IBF. So it'll come down to Zarafa's team and their teams and the sanctioning bodies on how they're going to do that. But tricky one. Yeah, tricky how that's going to play out.
Yeah, well, some other movements here I saw. You had Connor Wallace after his win over Faris Chevrolet. He's now WBA 11 and IBF 9, which is a good one. I did see Liam Paro actually dropped to number 2 behind Teofimo Lopez, which is interesting because obviously he was rated number 1.
Yeah, it was real freaking interesting. It wasn't a good one, that's for sure. So
yeah, Teofimo won that fight, who's not exactly a world beater, the guy he fought, but now he's suddenly ranked number 1. So I'm not sure how you can go down in rankings when you've done nothing wrong, but that's the sanctioning bodies, as we say. Some other ones I saw there. Jason Maloney, WBC number 1, WBO number 1. So that's a ripper for Jace. Also 8 with the WBA, 5 with the IBF, and obviously twin brother Andy, 5 with the WBC, 5 with the WBA, 9 with the IBF, and 4 with the WBA. So those guys, like George Kambosos, obviously, and Tim's, who are already locked into world title fights, and hopefully Zarafa, those guys will be in line for fights this year. And even with the girls as well, I said that Shannon O'Connell's now WBA number 1, but she's also IBF number 1 and WBC number 4. So some movement there. And another thing I saw, Beck Hawker's number 12. She'll obviously probably go up now. She's won the WBA IBA belt. But Sky Nicholson, after 4 fights, is ranked number 8, which is a little bit surprising. And our favourite, Tazzy, Susie Ramadan, WBC 12, WBA 9. So she's still in line for some title shots. And the other one that actually struck me with the girls was Taylor Robinson is now IBF number 3. So it hasn't taken her long to jump up. And I did hear a rumour, Nick, you might be able to shed some light on this, that she might be the one taking the fight with Jamie Mitchell for the WBA world title.
Stay tuned. I have heard some things, and some things are going to get in the fight. I think it'll be a great fight.
Yeah.
One thing I love about Taylor Roberts is she's not scared to hop in with anyone. And Jamie Mitchell's, it depends. I'll give some insight. Jamie Mitchell's a tricky one based on her visa situations and some of the stuff that's happened with her in the past. So that's a potential one that it might not be in Australia. It could be. It might not be. It could be overseas. So have to stay tuned for that one.
Well, stay tuned. One last thing on the Aussie front, guys. There's so much to get through tonight. It's ridiculous. I wasn't going to really go over this one, but you broke the story, Nick. I'm going to give Tazzy first crack at this. Sonny Bill Williams to fight Mark Hunt, November 5th in Sydney. Now, first of all, I'd just like to know what is going on with these guys. No one will fight each other. Gallen and him I'm talking about. They're all fighting these other guys. Tazzy, first thoughts. What do you think about this one?
I like Sonny Bill. He's very close to my brother Anthony Mundine. So he's a big name. He brings crowds. He's a superstar in New Zealand and Australia, NRL and Union. The guy can fight. He's a big athletic guy. Look what he done to Barry Hall. He offered the fight to Gal. Gal wasn't interested. No disrespect to Gal. So, mate, look, Lyndon, this is the promotion side of things. They need someone that's got a name. Hunt's got a name. He's a knockout UFC artist. He did lose to Gallen. Sonny's still a bit of a baby in the game. Mate, look, it'll probably sell tickets. There'll be an undercard. Might give a chance to some good Aussies to get on the undercard on TV. I've got no problem with it.
Nick, as Tazzy just said, it's obviously about from the promotion point of view, it's the ticket sales, it's the eyes on the event, all that sort of stuff. But for Sonny Bill Williams' actually credentials and career, is it a good fight?
Don't know. It's a hard one. Like, it's a different type of promotion to what the Barry Hall promotion was with the cross codes. Where does this lead to? I think this leads to Williams versus Gallen, Gallen versus Williams. As Tazzy said, I think Gallen, after he stomps these two guys out next week, is Gallen going to fight later or early next year? Like, what is next? There's obviously Fakota, Sonny, Tonza, and Chock and that team. Sonny Bill, there's a motive behind this of what's next if they can get Mark Hunt out of there and get him out. It's a tricky one. It was one that was definitely very hot today on the digital airwaves. Tazzy, why is it that I always have to break the news in this country?
Because you're the man, Nick.
Going on?
Nick, I learned something about you recently. No, let me say something, Nick.
It's not me.
Let me say something. You're not only the boxer media king, you know he'll kill Tupac, and that's massive, mate. You know he'll kill Tupac and Biggie. So you're not only a boxing genius, but you know the Biggie Tupac story. So the thing is, mate, you're the man, and they're just paying rent. They're just paying rent in your world, mate. That's what
someone has to break the news, Nick, and it just happens to be you in this country. We just report on we'll piggyback on what you report.
Right. Listen, Lyndon's the king of what he does. Nick, you're the king of what you do. And what I do, I just kill him. I just beat Peter Maniatis in the quiz every week. So we're all good at what we do, guys.
Tazzy,
exactly.
Real quick. I get that. But getting back to the original question, I think this is one where the digital media fans and people who like typing and that can say, it's freaking terrible. But you know what? When Sonny Bill fought last time on pay-per-view, it was very successful, and it was very well done by Stan. It was a good undercard at a very good venue. This will be at the Ken Rosewall venue in Sydney. It will be probably packed out. They've picked a very, very good venue here for this type of fight, and I think someone's going to get knocked out, and it should be a good fight.
Yeah, I'm a little bit I'm a little bit with you guys. It's probably not something that I'll go out of my way to watch, but I understand that there is a market out there, and if you don't want to watch, then simply don't watch. So it's pretty easy.
You don't have to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like football. It's just like football on the weekend. You know what I mean? It's you can support your team and watch it, but if there's another game on and you don't watch that other game. It's that simple. We just get so caught up and fucking emotional about how we
get so offended by absolutely everything, So anyway, good luck to them. If they're making some money and people out there want to see it, well, good luck to them. I'm personally probably not one of them, but I have no dramas. Anyone that wants to pay and watch it and whatever. So,
Sonny's not looking to be world champion or anything like that.
No.
He's just fighting, making money, and doing what he does. I mean, look, you know what I mean? So you got to understand, like, it's not as if him or Gal would be interested in winning world titles. But they do bring eyes to boxing, and I love that the guys get to get on the undercard and get a moment in the spotlight. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. On to some world news, guys, and the big fight on the weekend, well, it wasn't on the weekend, it was actually Sunday, which was Monday, sort of mid-morning here. Andy Ruiz won a 12-round decision over Luis Ortiz in Los Angeles. The scores were 114-111 times 2 and 113-112. Ruiz moves to 35-2. Ortiz dropped to 33-3. Nick, I don't know whether you watched it, but it wasn't a bad fight. It was a pretty good scrap.
No, it was a good fight, and it was funny hearing my good mate Joe Goosen. We've become a lot closer since we've caught up with each other, but he said halfway through round 3 that this fight's not going to go the distance, and it did go the distance. It just shows you, you know what I mean? I have a lot of respect for Joe Tazzy, and I probably would agree too. After 4 rounds, I thought, either Ruiz is just going to obliviate him here, or King Kong's going to walk him onto one and knock him out, and just shows you how tough and the amateur background and the pedigree of King Kong to get through that fight. He's so freaking strong. And it was a well-deserved win for Ruiz, I thought. And, he knocked him down, Lyndon 3 times at the fight?
2, I think. The second and the 7th, was it? I think, from memory?
Yeah, second. Yeah, but I think he knocked him down twice in one round, didn't he?
Oh, he did, sorry, yeah.
So,
yeah.
So there was 3 knockdowns.
3 knockdowns in total, yeah.
Look, it was a good fight, and obviously this, like I was saying before about Sonny Bill Williams and Mark Hunt, it's going to lead to something for premium boxing champions and Al Heyman. This leads to Wilder versus Ruiz after he becomes victorious, I think, over Hellenius.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up, actually, Nick. Tazzy, Deontay Wilder got in the ring afterwards, and there's talk that if he gets past Robert Hellenius, of course, that these two will fight to be the next challenger. Well, I doubt it's going to be for Fury. I don't think he'd fight Wilder for a 4th time, but still puts him in line for some bigger fights.
Yeah, mate, that's easy made. PBC and Al Heyman and Showtime, so that's easy as long as Wilder gets the win next fight. So that's an easy fight to make. It's an all-American affair, Mexican-American, versus American. So doesn't really matter about belts at the moment because none of them are sort of really directly in line yet. Obviously you got Fury, Usyk, and then you even got Josh just on me. But look, it's a good fight. It's easy to make. So if Wilder gets past his next opponent, then it's pretty much a done deal.
Nick, just one thing before we move on. I was actually really impressed by Deontay Wilder. Now, I'm openly not a massive fan of Wilder. Put his fighting style aside for 1 second. That's probably a different story. But I've never really been a fan because he goes on with the bomb squad thing and just carries on like a bit of a dick sometimes. I was really impressed. He showed a lot of humility, a lot of respect when he got in the ring the other day. And if he keeps that, I for one will, I'll be back on board for sure.
Well, as we all know, Lyndon, he was humbled.
Exactly, yeah.
He was humbled not once, he was humbled twice. And in life, I've had it, in certain situations in life, sometimes you need to be pulled in the line off certain people. And you guys that have been in the ring, whether it's you're amateur or I'd imagine, if you guys have been humbled. But he got humbled on the highest level with every freaking person in the world watching. I don't know how his wife and that felt after for a while. So he's definitely come with a different angle and a bit of a different tune. The heavyweight division is, I don't know, Tazzy, back me up. I just don't know where it's going now. I was really disappointed to hear today that Joshua's now making this pledge to fight Fury, and now Fury's yapping at Joshua's thing. I'm thinking, fucking hell, now we've gone past the Usyk versus Fury fight now that Joshua's coming in, and no offense, Joshua, it is the money fight against Fury in the UK, but mate, you don't deserve that fight. Usyk deserves that fight. And then with Wilder, so look at this one, Tazzy. Wilder fights Helenius, should win, probably will win. He fights Ruiz. Does the winner out of Ruiz and the winner out of Ruiz and Wilder move forward? Like, where does Wilder go? It's like he's got to fight Fury again, fucking at the King's Castle in London or something. I don't know. Like, it's a weird one.
Well, we'll move on to the Tyson Fury thing, Tazzy. So as Nick just said then, he offered Anthony Joshua a shot at the tie. I think he said November at the start, but then changed it to December. He's offered him a 60-40 split. Before I get you to comment, let's have a look and see what Tyson Fury had to say.
That I'm going to be fighting soon within the next few months. And I think that before I announce an opponent, that I need to do this, just in case. Anthony Joshua, I know you've just lost a fight to Usyk and you're doubtless at the moment. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to fight me for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World and the Lineal Championship in the next few months. You're coming off a 12-round fight, so you're match fit, you're ready. I'm giving you a few months' notice. If you're interested, I'll send you the date over and we can rumble. A Battle of Britain for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World. Let me know if you're interested. If not, I will select another opponent. Thank you very much and good night.
So there you go. And since then, Eddie Hearns obviously came back and said, yep, we'll take the 60-40. They want December 17. I think, what was it? Fury wants December 3rd, I think it is. So I think there might be a bit of a compromise and maybe go December 10, I don't know. But what do you think about it? Like Nick said, do you think it's a good fight to make, or it should be pulling out all the stops to get the Usyk fight done?
I think Fury's earned the right to do what he wants. He's a lineal champion. Yeah, Usyk has belts, but Fury's a lineal champion. He beat Klitschko. He beat Wilder. It's a fight everyone wants to see. Even though he's got a lost Joshua, it doesn't really matter. In England, it's fucking huge. I say make the fight happen. Like, yeah, look, I mean, yeah, Usyk's got more belts, but, like, in my opinion, Usyk's not the real champion. Fury is. So, yeah, if he can get it done, get it done. There's too many fucking belts anyway, so I don't really care.
Yeah, I agree.
Nick,
Sorry, Hussy,
sorry, mate.
for swearing. Sorry, Hussy, you're saying for swearing, brother. I told you I wouldn't swear anymore. Fury, look, Fury can do what he wants. This is the big fight to make. I know it should be Usyk, but, I mean, if they can make it happen, do it now, and then he can fight Usyk next if he wants. But, I mean, yeah, I've got no problem with this fight. It's good.
Yeah, Nick, will it get done? Do you have your doubts, or do you think it'll happen?
I think Fury was tapped on the shoulder last week by Frank Warren and said, Tyson, why did you speak about a $500 million fight? He dangled the carrot. His advisors have come back to him and said, you could probably make close to 80, 90, maybe 100 million, but we've got to go down a different route. Oh, what's that? You've got to do this video on Fight Hype or whatever you've done it on.
Yeah, good. Thanks to Fight Hype again. Yep.
Yeah, Fight Hype. Well, I think we the Ronnie and the guys, the digital guys, stole that off his own Instagram.
Yeah,
but we call it throwing fishing lines at Fight Hype. He's thrown the fishing line out with the two WC belts directly at Anthony Joshua, and he's just going to see over the next 2 weeks where all the media come from and where the money comes from for a potential fight. But I feel sorry for Usyk here because Usyk is the class individual that was sort of overshadowed by that stupid rant from Anthony Joshua. He's the one that should be fighting Tyson Fury.
Yeah, no, he should. Well, it gives us something to
I know what Fury's going to do to Joshua too. I know exactly what he's going to do to him.
Who's going to promote it, though?
You know what he's going to do to him, Lyndon?
What's that?
He's going to come with it with that British versus British. There's going to be some, like Conor Benn and fucking Chris Eubank Jr., there's going to be some real fucking hatred. And I'll tell you one thing, when Tyson Fury fights and he's fucking on the game and he comes with a real, I want to take you out, he'll take Joshua out real quick.
You reckon?
I got a feeling. Yeah, I reckon Fury would take him out under 4-5 rounds.
Yeah.
If Fury fought Usyk, it'd be more with Usyk with those eyes, those eyes that you'd be looking at him and doing all this stuff. It'd be a real boxing match, and it might go to points, or if not, he'd cut him off and stop Usyk late. But Fury, I'll tell you one thing about Tyson Fury. Fury's got it in his heart that he wants to knock this Anthony Joshua out and wants to hurt him, and he also wants to stick it up Eddie Hearn too. So it's a real thing that I think he's very zoned in on. One, I want the money.
I agree with you, Nick.
Yeah, but so I want to put this...
Sorry, yeah. So do you think with Tyson, Fury, while he suddenly said, like, let's just get this ball rolling right here and now, even so soon after the Usyk fight with Joshua, do you think his view is, I want to get this guy, and if I don't get him now, I might not get him? We have to do it now while it's got some sort of relevance.
Just for Tyson or for Joshua?
Fury wants to fight Joshua now because it's the timing might get away from him, might not get another shot at him. While there's some relevance with the fight.
But this is the thing with boxing. It's like when we put up Instagram stories and Facebook and TikTok things. It's relevant for 24 hours. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about we were talking about Anthony Joshua fighting in Germany, Dubai, and potentially Australia. Now, Eddie Hearn, you're talking about throwing him in with one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And what you're going to sit there at a press conference, Eddie Hearn, and go, we've got to really get behind him. Eddie, stop your bullshit, Hearn. Do you want to throw Joshua in with fucking Tyson Fury right now? I fucking wouldn't want to. I would not want to throw him in there.
Yeah.
Build him back up for that and do it that way. Have some respect for him. But is Joshua there going, I want the money and then I'm getting out? And he might be. You boxers, people do it, Tazzy. He might be saying, I want the money I want to go out in Wembley Stadium and try and knock this chump out. You're not going to knock him out.
But maybe that is... But maybe that's exactly the way it is. Maybe Anthony Joshua said, you know what, I don't want to go through the process of fighting other contenders. I definitely don't want this world tour, whatever the hell you're talking about. I don't want to go through having to fight maybe a Wilder or a Ruiz again or whatever it might be. I want this fight. If I can win, then okay, we'll take it from there. And if I lose, then I've had enough. Because he doesn't seem like he's the type of guy that's in it just because he loves to fight. You know what I mean? Like it's a bit of a different cat. Is Joshua?
And mentally, Tazzy, Tazzy, get off your phone there, off your whatever you're on there. Stop checking the Yarraville Gym Instagram. But this is the thing, right? Fury would have it over him mentally too. Like Fury would really be like, Fury. Oh fucking hell! I'd hate to fight Tyson Fury. I really would. 6'7", 130 kilos. And can mentally get in you and break you, and will completely use what he did after the fight against Usyk. Fury will use that against him, but Fury doesn't want to just knock Joshua out, like I said before. He wants to shove it up Hearn, so he wants to shove it up everyone. Yeah. So Hearn, is that really the play for you and your fighter to do that now? I don't think so.
Right, we'll move on, guys, because another big fight this weekend is for girls.
Levels.
Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. They clashed this weekend for the undisputed middleweight title. It's sort of been forgotten a little bit with all the other news going on, Tazzy. But we've had the Katie Taylor-Serrano fight earlier in the year. This is probably the second biggest female fight of all time. And watching the build up to it, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Man, Clarissa Shields, she's the GOAT, mate, of women's boxing, I think, and she's going to try and revenge her loss in the amateurs to Savannah Marshall, and I know Floyd Mayweather's, I think, going over there with the great GT and
shout
the crew.
Out to GT.
And, shout out to GT, and man, look, it should be good, and I hope Clarissa wins, unifies all the belts.
Nick, I got to say, I'm more of a Savannah Marshall type of guy. I don't really like the yapping that comes from some of these fighters, but I think she handles herself with a bit more class. But either way, no matter who you want to win, I mean, for women's boxing, coming off the back of Serrano and Taylor, this is massive.
This is a massive fight at the middleweight division. We'll have an undisputed world champion by about 9 o'clock Sunday morning. It's a great fight. It's two very good boxers. One who's a very, very tough boxing when she wants it to be, but Savannah Marshall can be quite slick as well, and she's got the reach. She's going to be a little bit taller. There's some amateur history here. There's a little bit of feeling there in London at the moment. We're 2 or 3 days out, so it'll be a cracker, and I think it'll even be a better fight than the Katie Taylor fight. I really do. I think someone will get knocked out here in this fight. I think Shields will beat her, but I wouldn't be surprised if Marshall just gets in front of that home crowd and gets that the Patriots of England to really get her across the line as well. So it's a 50-50 fight, but I think Clarissa Shields is very. And I spoke to GT yesterday. Clarissa's very, very focused and zoned in on. But I agree with you, Linda. Some of the talk that they come with and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Are they doing it for fucking pay-per-view buys, or what are they doing it for? Shields sometimes can get a bit over the top.
And big girls too, middleweights. What's that? 72 kilos, 160 pounds. So not little 122 pounders or 130 pound here. These are bigger girls. You can both throw them. So should be good. So I'm not sure if it's on TV this week. Is it, Nick? Is it on DAZN?
We actually haven't heard. We haven't had a press release or anything about this. I don't know what the GO is with it. I would think that it will be on Fox Sports early Sunday morning between 5 and 9 a.m. It should be. I'm hoping it is, but we actually haven't had a press release about it yet.
It's unusual. All right, one last thing before we get on to a couple of talking points. Couple of weeks' time, the big one. Canelo Alvarez, Gennady Golovkin, number 3. September 17th in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. Now, I'll be there. The Boxing Deep Dive show will be going on the road, so we won't delve too much into the fight itself. I think enough's been said about it. Everyone will make up their own mind and who they think's going to win. But just for your interest over there, so we're going to do a daily show. So from Las Vegas, I'm going to put up something every single day, just a bit of a recap of everything, every day that is. So I'm not sure we'll do a live, but there'll be just a recap of all the videos. I'll do some, a bit of feedback as well on it. So look out for it every day. I'm going to try and get on sort of between 6 and 7 every night Australian time. So check that one out. I'll try and get as much footage and that we can't really guarantee interviews. It's pretty hard over there, this type of environment. You don't really see, especially the fighters themselves, of course. But Nick, be good if you were there with me, mate, because I'm sure I'd be guaranteed to have something happen. But I'll just make do. But either way, as I said, I'm going to get all the footage I can, compile it each day, 10 or 15 minute video every single day, which is 9 or 10 days. So keep a lookout for it, and can't wait to get over there for the big fight. Just quick predictions, Tazzy, who you got?
I got Canelo. Fuck.
Hey, Tazzy, go to sleep. You got to go to sleep.
We're almost there.
Canelo either unanimous points or a 10th round stoppage.
All right, Nick, who you got, mate?
My heart wants Triple G to knock Canelo in the next week, the week after. I've got Canelo to win the fight, but I've got Triple G to hopefully beat him and retire as one of the greatest middleweights of all time. I've been a bit disappointed here. I'm going to have a bit of a bitch here, Tazzy. I'm just disappointed in... Remember the old days, our 24/7s, our all-access build-ups?
Yeah,
nothing.
Well, here we go. Let's debate it. We have that social media, obviously. You know what I mean? You're hot for 24 hours. You know what I mean? There's an event on one week and then we just dump it. This fight has had really nothing. There's been no freaking build-up whatsoever. Shout out to the guys at Fight Hype last week. We had a big open media workout there at Canelo Alvarez's gym in San Diego. Triple G, I believe, got the inside word. He's actually offline as we speak, which he does. He goes offline. He won't do media to probably early next week when he arrives in Vegas. He's somewhere in Los Angeles or Big Bear. We don't know where he is. That's just how he does. But that's irrelevant. There's just been, I'd love to see like a Liv Schreiber, the way they used to do the all-access of the CBS.
Yeah. We've had it on here before, Nick.
Through the hourglass,
We've had it on here before with the talking points about yesteryear versus current day with the two, and like the HBO sort of show that just leaves today for dead. The HBO telecast, but
I wonder why. Wonder why they haven't done it this time, because it's a big fight.
Well, I suppose it costs more money, doesn't it, Nick? I suppose so.
It costs more money, but put more money into it and then pump it through the social media channels with a link and get these young kids watching boxing build up to the way we used to watch it. Just because we're developing more in humanity and we're going more on this social media thing is go back to, if it's on YouTube, go back to see. I'd love to watch the build up for Canelo Triple G3 and what it means to Golovkin and Canelo.
Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, you're right. It's a shame there hasn't been anything sort of said about it. I can't wait to see. I know they're not both at their peak, especially Triple G, but I think sometimes in these types of fights, you tend to get the best actual fights. They mightn't be as skilled or whatever they used to be, but I think
Canelo should be in his prime, shouldn't he, Lyndon?
Well, Canelo, but I'm talking Triple G. I mean, he's obviously 4 years older since the last fight. Nick, did you actually give me a prediction?
Yeah, Canelo will beat him.
Yeah,
and I don't like saying it, but Canelo will beat him. I think Canelo.
Knockout?
I think Canelo. No, I think Canelo will beat him by points, and I think we'll just realise once again at the end of the fight, shit, Triple G lost the fight, but how freaking tough he was. But then again, if he bites down on that mouse guard like he did against Murata and just throws, I know for a fact that Tom Loeffler, they're going to throw fucking absolutely. You guys are so glad you're going to be there. Triple G is going to throw everything at him. It could be an absolute fireworks fight early where the first one was more cat and mouse. Triple G is going to come at him to try and bury it because it's personal too. It's personal.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I've been lucky enough to go to the first two fights in this series, so I can't wait to make it the even hat trick. Just on the fight, guys. This is the actual belt. Sorry.
Lyndon.
Yeah.
You had the first two, was it?
Yeah, been to the first two. Yep.
No, I went to the first one, Tazzy. I went to the draw. Lyndon went to the Canelo went to the draw and the victory.
Yeah, I went to both of them. Yeah, I went to the first one with the Maloney boys when we were over there for training camp at Tony Cholge, and the second one I was there by myself. But yeah, this is the belt they're fighting for. I'm not quite sure the name of the belt, but Canelo seems to fight for some sort of theme belt every time he gets in there. But this is up for the winner. Quick story, I will tell you, when we were there, for the first fight, they actually had a special belt as well. And when we're walking through the casino, it was myself and the twins. I think that was the three of us walking through, and they actually had the belt in the casino. They were doing some sort of photo shoot with it, so we got to actually hold the belt, get some photos and that sort of stuff. It was great, beautiful belt. It was absolutely beautiful. But yeah, it should be a ripper. So stay tuned for all the daily updates, and hopefully I can send back as much info as we can. Guys, just got 3 talking points. We'll rush through pretty quick. We won't debate on it all night long. But the first one I want to get to, just a few things that have been on my mind this week. The first one, Nick. Is live boxing a possibility? Now, we've seen live, if you're not familiar with it, guys, live golf is out there at the moment. It's a brand new, the Saudis, I think, are funding it in the Middle East. It's just a whole new competition. An Australian golfer, Cameron Smith, has just been signed for $140 million, if you will. And they're doing the rounds and poaching these guys and creating a whole different tour. Is there a possibility that live boxing could be out there at some stage?
100%, and it would be in a round-robin format. It would be not as longer fights. It would probably be dissected into 3 and 5 round fights. It's a very strong possibility in the next 3 or 5 years that live boxing, that style, will come. Yes.
Yeah, it's almost Tazzy
like. I don't even know what you're fucking talking about.
Well, I was just going to say, I didn't think of it, but what it is, as I said, with the golf, there's the US. Sorry.
Is that who's live? Is she a prostitute?
No, it stands for something else. But golf, it's so they've got the USPGA and they run the whole thing. And what this live, it's called live. I did read about the other day what it actually stands for, but it's a Saudi thing. And what it is that they've come in and just said to the PGA, step aside. We're going to poach all the best golfers. And they're going to go on our tour, and we're going to create a whole different thing. So, just interesting.
About golf. I know Nick likes golf.
Not talking about golf, mate. I'm talking about the concept. Not golf.
Well, no. Don't change boxing. Okay. Don't change it. All right. Leave boxing as it is. Leave boxing as 12-round fights. Leave boxing
it's got nothing to do with the distance. It's to do with a different competition.
The concept of how boxing is going to be run and watched.
Do not change one thing about boxing. Leave it as it was. Don't change it. So I don't know nothing
Tazzy,
about
I think there's a lot of things we could change about boxing, though.
The thing is,
No,
Nick,
belt. We're fighting for too many belts.
Yeah, the thing, I've got a question on that in a second, guys, so hold fire on that one. But the thing is, Nick, like probably what happens with everything in business, it's all about the money. And this Cameron Smith, the golfer, to sign for $140 million, what would you do if Live Boxing or whatever it came out and said to Canelo and Terence Crawford and all the best fighter, Inoue and all those ones said, right, we're going to get a signing bonus of $100 million just to come on board, and we're going to pluck them all off. Of course they're going to go.
Right, so just to put it in perspective, Tazzy, it would be like the sheiks and some very rich Saudis coming in and saying to... Hang on. You can't say that, Tazzy. Just relax. Just a quick one. The concept would be like if someone come in with $1 billion and said to Terence Crawford, Keith Thurman, didn't go for Errol Spence, say Mario Barrios, Jaron Ennis, we've got this concept for 2 years. It's going to be round robin. You're going to fight in 4 different round robins over 2 years. Wait for it, Tazzy. And Jaron Ennis, how much money do you think that's worth? And then he says, well, I normally get $1 million for one fight, then I get $1 million for the second fight. But we're going to give you $10 million, Jaron Ennis, for 2 round robins in a year. And then in the second year, we're going to double it for $20 million. Yeah. I'll tell you what Jaron Ennis, Terence Crawford, and all them are going to do. They're going to say, yeah, we're going to do it. And then all of a sudden, they won't be in the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF. And then it goes a different way. I hope it does. I'm with Tazzy. I
won't watch it. Got no interest in it. Stuff Live and stuff the freaking Arabs, Saudi Arabia.
But it's funny though, isn't it, Nick? Because it is all about the money, isn't it? That it's all about the money. That whether we like it or not, or whatever it could work. And the golf people at the moment are absolutely up in arms all over the world, aren't they? About it. But at the end of the day. Shit, if someone's going to offer you $140 million, you're going to take it no matter what your beliefs are, aren't you? So
exactly, and it's all it is different concepts on how to market and make money in sport. Now, it could be a flop for Liv. It might not be a flop. I hope it never happens in boxing.
Yeah, me too. I really hope it doesn't happen. But while there's money involved, who knows? On the talking point number 2, guys. Actually, I'm just going to go, that's a Jake Paul question. I want to just, while we're on it, go to talking point number 3. This is going on the Live boxing thing. Is one governing body possible? Now, let me just explain beforehand. I'm not talking about saying we've got to get rid of 3 or whatever it is and only have 1 and it's a new belt, whatever it might be. What I'm talking about is a governing body that doesn't actually have a belt. So it's not the IBA or IBC, whatever it might be. It's just an organisation that oversees the 4 main sanctioning bodies to make sure they have a universal set of rules, maybe a universal set of rankings that gets policed. Almost like a policing body, not an actual new governing body. So it's not a new belt. It's just that someone that oversees the existing governing bodies out there and making sure everything's done right and not just about who's paid the most franchise fees, who's got the relationship with such and such, who's done this and that. Because what I see at the moment is, in the rankings, looking at it this month, you have someone that's ranked number 1 in one organisation. He isn't ranked at all in the top 15 or even 20 of the other 3. So that shows something is wrong along the line. And I know this has been explained numerous times by different people. But what do you think, Nick, about, I know it's pie in the sky stuff, but how good would it be to have a governing body that just oversees the existing, not a sanctioning body, but an organisation that oversees the sanctioning bodies?
I believe in it, and I think it's great. I think we probably won't see it in our lifetime.
Yeah. It's a talking point.
What do you reckon? That's the most unfortunate thing about it.
Yeah, no, it would be great, but it won't happen. So
yeah. It would be good. Just someone, like a policing type of thing, because it's you have the swimming, and you have the football, and you have all these different things. But anyway, pie in the sky stuff. Last one, guys. You would have seen what I just put on there. Jake Paul, is he back to square 1? Tazzy, I know you don't give a shit, and I don't either, which is why I've just chucked it in the talking points. Nick, he's going to fight, what's his name, is it Andale or Anderson Silva? Is he back to square 1? He got a little bit of cred when he was going to fight the 2 boxers, Fury and Rahman, I think it was. Now he's gone back to fighting a guy that's never had a boxing... Well, actually, he has had a boxing fight against Chavez, who knows, might have been on the piss the night before, who knows. But is he back to square one as far as credibility goes?
He's back to square one. It's like him fighting fucking Ben Askren. Well, Anderson Silva's a lot tougher and a lot stronger than Ben Askren, but he's back to square one in terms of concept with Tyron Woodley, the first fight. When he fought Tyron Woodley, the first fight up there in, where was it? Was it in Cleveland, the first fight? And then the second fight, I forget where it was. So I can't even remember. The decline in pay-per-view went really, really down. And the interest in the second fight wasn't as good. It's funny with Jake Paul. It's a tricky one. Look, the one against the Fury brother that didn't happen, that was all around visas and all that sort of stuff. I get that. The one against Hasim Ruckman Jr. was they couldn't sell a fucking ticket to save themselves. They had to call the fight off. That's why that really happened. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it happened. Yeah, because I was over there getting ready to launch in from Ohio. I was there to go in for it, and then obviously I was going to come out of it. I never got there. Sort of played more golf and sort of kind of knew that it wasn't going to happen, to be honest. We're back to answer the question, the talking point. It's back to square one.
Yeah.
Where Jake Paul is going to earn more respect is when he fights a credible boxer, someone around about 10-0, 11-0 at his weight that is not a UFC fighter. That's it.
Yeah, well, I did see him trying to pretty much talk the fight up the other day, which I just had to laugh at, that he was saying how great Silva is, and one thing he does do really well is talk it up. But anyway, it's probably enough said on that. It's probably about as much coverage we're going to give Jake Paul on this show until he actually fights someone legitimate. All right, boys. Well, that's it for another week. This is episode 47. Really appreciate you coming on board. Nick, we'll have you back in a couple of weeks' time when we're back on deck. And make sure that you look out every day on our YouTube page, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. And we'll see you there. And I'll give a full wrap review of the fight, probably preview and a review afterwards. And it should be really good. But again, have a good one, guys. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Safe travel.